So first best of 3 of today, Talcor against myself. I have a coast build with a ton of mobility, ton of bats, and I'm rushing the wood elves. This is because they this is just because the map is very small. I figured I might be able to get a pretty nice rush going. Some zombie summons to catch up the Way Watchers is going to be a fairly nice start for me. And then I'm going to be marching in with Noctilus to try and jump the back as well as I can. We'll be spamming out summons, throwing down tons of abilities, and once the archers are compromised, I should be fairly good. There's a few Glade Riders here, which aren't especially scary since I have so many dogs at the ready. And as for Noctilus, he does finally manage to get into the fight. And then it's just going to be a ton of disruption at this point. Just spamming out summons, and now that my bombers are in the fight, they'll be able to start breaking through the front line. I'm trying to push through as hard as I can. The Scurvy Dogs will be more than enough to kill a single unit of Glade Riders. And for all of these Glade Guard, I'll be pressuring them with my summons and my bombs. So just taking stock of these Scurvy Dogs, they are doing pretty well. They've killed off all of the range units on that flank. I'll reward them with a good old heal. And then I'll just continue pushing into the Wood Elf lines. Most of their forces are pretty weak against my Scurvy Dogs, and they'll die pretty quickly to the deck gunners too. With all the disruption, I don't have to worry about the deck gunners getting shut down at all, as they are they're just very plentiful, and there's not a lot of archers left for the Wood Elves. Just a few Way Watchers that are trying to shut down my Lamprey's Revenge, and there we go. You can see why the deck droppers are so good. I've killed off a unit of the Glade Guard. I'll be killing off the next unit soon, and then I think it should be a pretty clean victory after all this. The Way Watchers will still have to focus the Lamprey's Revenge if they want to actually shut down my main source of armor. There's also a Glade Lord that I'll hit with the Wraith Storm. That'll take her out very quickly. And then from here, it's just it's essentially just cleanup. I still have a full squad of Scurvy Dogs. I still have all of my deck droppers, and with that, I'll have more than enough to handle the infantry and the single entities alike. So now at this point of the game, the deck droppers, since they have no more real threats on the ground, they'll be focusing down this branch rate, and then after that, they're going to go for the Glade Lord. Should be pretty straightforward. There's only a single unit of Dryads left, and there we go. We're seeing routes on these Way Watchers now, and army losses up against Talcor. Pretty straightforward. Looks like things went about as well as I could have hoped. This build, you do have to kite away from the coast army, and in a rush situation like this, there really wasn't enough cavalry, since this is really just enough to deal with Scurvy Dogs, not for this many deck gunners. The Glade Guard too had nowhere to kite because of the edge of the map, and that's basically all I needed to do to secure the victory. The next match up against Talcor is Bretonia against Greenskins. The idea is you bring Lewin for his AP and his armor debuff, and then your archers will focus down the Arachnarok spiders. I have Gotrek here too, and he'll be able to do very well up against the single entities like the spider. So I'm feeling pretty decent here. An initial volley of arrows too onto these goblins will be pretty nice damage. And I'm looking for Savage Orc big guns to actually shoot at, but it looks like they are all the normal Savage Orc variants, which worries me a tiny bit. I'm wondering where the money has gone for my opponent, and it could be in the forest. Of course, a few Night Goblins too with their fanatics could be pretty scary. So there's a lot I'll need to be careful of for sure. I'll land into the goblins, and the goal right now is to focus fire them before they can get off their fanatics. Gotrek will be dealing with the spider, and then I'm just going to be cycle charging between all of the infantry. Lewin too is taking a little bit of a beating. He'll need to escape. That shouldn't be too hard. Oh man, but maybe it will be, as Lewin, come on. Oh, he got netted by Wurzag. Oh, I see. Well, that's going to be a little bit rough. A few misplays here and there. So let's see if I can recover from this situation. Lewin, he will be healing up from my caster as he retreats. That's not too much of a problem. And I have killed off most of the greenskin archers at this point. Gotrek is doing fairly well too. And as soon as Lewin is back, he'll be able to kill off the Arachnarok spider and hopefully get a few terror routes here onto the greenskins. As for my cavalry, they're going to be peeling for my archers to make sure that they stay safe. And my Hippogriff Knights, they're going to be diving into the greenskin backline too. I'm going for the backline. I'm not sure if that's the best idea. Perhaps I want to be hitting their infantry instead. But at the moment, the backline seems like it's the most exposed, so I'll just go for that for now. Some goblin skirmishers too, actually diving into my archers. I'll need to bring in my knights to support in that situation. And I think I should be able to win this fight with Lewin. I'll throw down a ton of debuffs, and hopefully if I can get a victory there and chase off the skirmishers, I'll be able to use my superior mobility to win out the game. But things are definitely getting a bit sketchy. And you know what? I might need to go for a pick on Wurzag by the looks of it. So Lewin is going to dive in right on top of him. Hopefully get some pretty vicious charges. And if I can kill off Wurzag, that's going to be a huge win for me. The Arachnarok Queen is far away and won't really be able to help in this situation. So Lewin should have about free reign here. As for my cavalry, they're going to be pulling away so that they can better cycle charge. And for Lewin, I'll give him a heal as soon as this cavalry dives in. They're going to be going for Wurzag specifically so that I can actually pin him down with my mass. And then it's just going to be a hardcore sniping attempt on him. Hopefully I'll be able to kill him, because if I don't, things will get pretty dicey. In the meantime, my Hippogriff Knights are just distracting the Arachnarok spider by constantly charging the archers. And that is a huge help for me, because it means that this fight over here is going to be mostly commanded by Lewin and his cycle charging. So I'll keep on chasing Wurzag with them, disengage with my cavalry so that they don't run into any issues, and then start running away from these savage orcs. Turn on skirmish mode for those archers to make sure that they actually continue running away. Now Wurzag, he has managed to get some pretty good distance. I will be able to hit him with the Hippogriff Knights, but Lewin is in a pretty scary position. He could get netted down, and if he does, that would be very bad for him. So I'll just be trying to disengage, and it looks like he should be able to escape. Not only that, I also managed to kill off Wurzag, and it's going to be a huge terror rout on the forces of the greenskins. Wurzag now extremely low. A final charge from Lewin should be able to end him, but the Arachnarok Queen is staying close to actually give him protection. But there we go. He gets a little bit too far away, and I'll be able to kill him, thus breaking the leadership of these greenskins. Still though, there is a full HP unit of for the Arachnarok Queen. I have a damsel that can heal up my Hippogriff Knights, and I'll be relying very heavily on Lewin and the Hippogriff Knights to actually kill off that queen. Otherwise, yeah, without my hero squad, it's going to be a little bit scary. Now for Wurzag, he is running off the map, so the leadership debuff hasn't hit the greenskins yet, which is actually good for me because I can engage this infantry blob as he routes off the map, and then that will buy me as much time as possible for breaking their leadership. My damsel, however, is gone, which is very unfortunate. Let's see, it looks like she was getting chased off by the Arachnarok Queen. But I think I'm nearly heal capped with all of my troops anyway, so that's not too much of a problem. Now, for these greenskin forces, Azag or Warzag is very nearly off the battlefield, and it's gonna come down to some cycle charging now. A big spider summon does come down. I will be able to avoid any problems there, since I managed to disengage in time. And now, for the big play, I'm going to dive in onto the Queen, use all my buffs on Lewin, and see if I can take it out. Warzag should be off the battlefield soon, so as soon as he's gone, the leadership debuff should be pretty big for the greenskins, but it looks like it might not even matter, as they're already on the verge of routing. So just with the mass surround of my cavalry, it looks like that will be able to pull through. And there we go, army losses for the greenskins, and GG. Now, I expected Warzag to route off the map a little bit faster, but yeah, it could have been a bit dicey there. Preferably, I should have waited a bit longer before that engagement, but as per the attacking rules, I did have to eventually move in. Alternatively, I could have gone for the kill on Warzag, but the surround of the Hippogriff Knights plus Lewin is really brutal. The greenskins do really badly when surrounded, and with a little bit of terror, you can really get them to rout off pretty heavily. Now, obviously, the major misplay there was Lewin getting very nearly killed off, but it didn't. Yeah, he managed to survive in the end, and that worked out. Gotrek 2 died without me noticing. I'll need to work on that in the future. Definitely should have microed him better. But still, things went fairly good. My cavalry actually did surprisingly well too. I think just my archers could have been defended longer. So this next match is up against Muckup. We're doing some clan practice now, and I'm going for a rush. I have 2 gunnery wights. I'm rushing with Silostra, and Overcast Kraken's Pull is going to be the name of the game, as it will almost entirely kill off these Lothar and Seaguard if I overcast on top of them. The Moringulls will try and break through this front line of spearmen. They'll fall fairly quickly, and I'm going to use my Scab Scraps to shut them down. That should work out fairly well. The gunnery wights are very highly armored too, so it's just pushing through. There are Sisters of Averlorn though, and you know what? I'm gonna hit them with the Kraken's Pull to shut them down nice and early. My Moringulls are gonna dive right on in, and I'm also going to get a Knight Summon to kill off the other units of Sisters. As the Sisters of Averlorn are the main AP up against Silostra, I definitely want to take them out as quickly as I can. Moringulls will be focusing on punching through the front line. And as for the Sisters, I'm going to hit them with the Scab Scrats and hopefully get them routed off nice and quickly. Scab Scrats did decent damage, but nothing too crazy. My Knights, too, need to disengage out of there as quickly as possible and start routing off these archers. As for my backline, the cavalry is charging into it. My bombers will get disrupted by that, and there's not a ton I can really do there to really help that situation. But that might not really matter as long as I'm able to push through. Now, the Sisters of Averlorn will be pulling down Silostra. She's taken a ton of damage so far, and it looks like I won't be able to save her. But at the very least, I will be able to kill off all these Sisters before we head on into the mid game. I still have a few Scab Scrats, so that should work out pretty well. Still though, there are a lot of units of Sisters of Averlorn, and I didn't catch the 3rd unit of them. They will be able to shut down Silostra, and that's going to be a little bit brutal. As for the front line, it has collapsed, but I didn't bring any Scurvy Dogs, and the Scurvy Dogs are very important here for chasing off these troops, and without them, I think Muckup has this game in the bag, but we'll have to see. I still have 2 gunnery wights, very high armor, and pretty hard to take down. It just depends on whether or not these Sisters of Averlorn will have enough to actually kill him off. A L'Ariel, too, flying around, will be a little bit of a problem. Her cycle charging will be pretty painful up against most of my forces. And the Gunnery Wights against archers too will still be taking a pretty decent amount of damage. So I think this game is lost, but I'll hold up for just a second. Maybe the Gunnery Wights can carry here. I'll just have to see how many infantry troops I have left, as they will be able to push back these archers. There is a unit of cavalry too, which isn't super scary in this situation. They end up just taking... Well, they just don't do a ton of AP in general, so the Gunnery Wights should be able to win against them. But still, there are 2 units of Lothern Seaguard at half ammunition. A L'Ariel diving in onto the Gunnery Wights too, and I don't have any Scab's Grass. So we'll just see if they're able to win the fight. If they don't, well then that's gonna be GG. And it looks like they won't, so I'll go ahead and call the game now. So there we go. High Elves taking the victory. I think the rush could have been a little bit more optimized, and I did sort of suicide Silostra into the center. I didn't expect... I only saw 2 Sisters of Averlorn, so I thought I'd be able to shut them down, but it turns out I missed one, and I got punished pretty hard for that. You want Silostra to stay alive, of course, so that she can continue disrupting the formations. So I'll need to make sure I micro better next time. The Mourngulls too, I want to replace one of them with 2 Scurvy Dogs to kill off the infantry. Otherwise, you'll see many of the troops coming back and rallying and generally causing a lot of problems. This next match is the Dowie up against the Lizardmen. There is a Slann or a Skink Priest of Heavens with the Thunderbolt ability. A little bit of a strange choice. I guess it's going to hit up my artillery, but I'm not as worried about that. And I'm going to start sniping out the Skink Priest early, since it might be the only source of magic here. There's a Slann Mage Priest of Light, and it does come with Barona's Time Warp. So we'll see how that does. The Skink Priest, though, will get gunned down by the Gyrocopter. The slow makes it very hard for him to dodge. So he should be down in just a second. After he's down, it'll just be the Barona's Time Warp, and then I'll be in a fairly good position. The Gyro Bomber is getting caught up in melee against the Skink Priest, though. They'll have to try and disengage. And then we'll see if my Troll Hammers actually kill off this Skink Priest. I'll be hitting him up with a slow from Grombrindle, focusing him down with the Troll Hammers, and then I'll see if I can actually kill him off. And there we go. He goes down very quickly, and now the Gyro Bomber can focus on things like this Slann. My Troll Hammers are going to be killing off the Croxigors, and then the Slayers will make sure that nothing pushes through. There are a few red-crested skinks moving along the sides. Dealing with them is essentially just... it's just having my blasting charges face the correct direction. And let's see how well that goes. The Croxigors will be getting in some pretty good damage up against my Longbeards, and the Saurus Warriors will win the fight eventually. So I need to turn the advantage into my favor by putting in some bombing runs onto the Croxigors. As soon as they rout off, I'll also be changing the direction of my Troll Hammers to focus down separate units of Croxigors. And with that, I think I should be good. I'll do another bombing run to kill off the rest of the Saurus Warriors, thus securing myself the frontline engagement. And as for this Slann, who's trying to dive into my backline, I think I can probably just focus it down with my Gyro Bomber. The Longbeards too have now won the frontline engagement thanks to the support of the Troll Hammers and the Gyro Bomber. And I think I have this game won. I'll make sure to boost up the leadership of my troops so that they don't get routed off prematurely. And I guess, yeah, that's basically it. That was a very straightforward game. Essentially, there wasn't really much to shut down the gyro bomber. It got absolute, just huge amounts of value. And the troll hammers too got multiple volleys off against the lizardmen. Usually, you want to make sure that the troll hammers only get a single volley off. And if they can get two, then you're usually in a pretty bad position. And there we go. Croxagores are now gone. It looks like that's going to be game. There's no more Saurus warriors except for a few over here. And Grombrindle can pretty easily turn the fight in his favor there. So there we go. Very straightforward. If you look at the gyro bomber, 2,200 damage value. That is what I like to see. The bolt thrower too was just to force the lizardmen to engage, and all the troll hammers paid for themselves. So you can see, yeah, these are the main threats, and you have to make sure you can shut them down. For the lizardmen, really, nothing really got too much value. That's basically it. First game up against Call Harmon in the ODM practice. He's going to be running a kite build up against my coast. Now, this can go pretty gnarly for coast sometimes, but I have brought with myself 2 deck gunners. They can put in a lot of damage onto chameleon skinks and skink skirmishers. My handguns will be quite threatening too, and my front line has a ton of HP, so I'm not especially scared in this situation. The double stegodon too might fire in onto my deck gunners, but if they do, I can just heal them up. So that shouldn't really be much of a problem at all. The handguns should trade pretty well. The chameleon skinks with javelins are already taking some pretty nice damage. My front line so far has survived fairly well. And I can use Luthor too to sort of shoo these guys away. Now these stegodons, they will slowly be able to chip away at my deck gunners, but the question is, will it be fast enough? I'm honestly feeling probably not. They're already at 2/3 ammunition. So they'll, yeah, they're gonna run out of ammo pretty quickly. Not to mention I have some heals that I can throw down onto my troops. So I'm not too worried at all. As for my front line, I can safely pull them back. Since there's no threat of a rush, I can pull them into a more defensive position where my handguns can actually cover them and keep them safe. My scurvy dogs can move in too to chase off the chameleon skinks, and the deck gunners are just routing off troops wherever they can. I'm going to group them up so that my caster can heal them up together, and with Luthor I should be able to chase off these chameleon skinks no problem. So the deck gunners are now grouped up. I don't want to heal them yet, just so I can stay efficient with my heals. And for these chameleon skinks, we'll hit them with the hornswaggle to slow them down and see if Luthor can get these guys to rout. If he does, that'll be quite good for sure. Now this big fight here, I may lose some scurvy dogs, so it really depends on how well the fight goes for me. I will be picking off a few skinks. They do get terror routed too, which is very good. But the dogs are much more important to keep alive. HP on Luthor too is fairly important also. So I'll have to be a tiny bit wary there. As for these chameleon skinks, a few more do reveal themselves. But all in all, I think I'm trading up fairly well in this situation. The deck gunners will have to be a tiny bit careful though, as the stegodons will be able to shoot lengthwise into them and get more kills than they usually would onto the deck gunners if I'm not careful. So I'll position them in a way that makes the stegodons miss a tiny bit more, bring in my dogs. And because it's a kite game, the name of the game is efficiency. I need to be really efficient with my winds of magic, with my troops, and basically everything. So overcast on all 4 targets will be the best option available for me. Those deck gunners will be healing up pretty quickly. And now they can move in and start damaging some skink skirmishers. The banshees too, to cover the flank, will be quite good. And with that out of the way, what's really left for the lizardmen? There's a few Saurus warriors and 2 stegodons. The stegodons, of course, can be a bit threatening, especially if Luthor takes too much damage. So I'll be a bit wary to make sure I have enough handgunners at the ready to actually finish them off. And once that's managed, then I think I should be okay. I'll also want to continue advancing towards the lizardmen, just to put the pressure on, give them a little bit less space to kite away. Then I should be good. I'll move in my scurvy dogs too to take another engagement, since I have another AoE heal at the ready. And if I can get a trade with my dogs before healing, that will be all the better for me. Now, the Stegodons are very nearly out of ammunition. I've decided I don't really need to heal my dogs since my engagement here is being denied from Call Harmon. So instead, I'll just move up my deck gunners and heal up my caster along with them. Since the overcast damage does actually do a lot of damage to her, it's important that you keep her alive and healthy. A few skinks too reveal themselves along the flanks. They'll be mostly walking into zombies, which is fine for me. I'm not worried about my zombies taking a little bit of poke damage. I'm more worried about my deck gunners getting shut down. So I'll just keep them nice and safe. I'll use my scurvy dogs to protect them. And against these skinks moving in along the sides, I can use my dogs to chase them off. Luther too will be pretty proficient against these chameleon skinks, and if I can get a big volley off from my handgunners, that would be a huge help too. As for the Saurus warriors, I have more than enough bombers to handle that situation, so I'm feeling very confident at this point that I should be able to take the victory. Essentially, there's just a bunch of really beat up skinks on the verge of routing, a few Saurus warriors, and that's basically it. My flanks are secured, but the Stegodons are moving in, and like I said, they are pretty threatening. I will have to actually kill them off. Luther's going to be handling that situation while my front line holds against the lizardmen. Just a little bit of focus fire from the handguns should be more than enough, and some breath attacks from Luther will definitely be quite good also. The Sirens don't want to get stuck with Mazdamundi. If they do, it could be a pretty bad situation, since Mazdamundi of course does do magic damage, and instead I'll use them to chase away these skinks. The bombers are doing more than enough versus the Saurus warriors on the flanks, and with the second Stegodon down, I think I should be good. The scurvy dogs to cycle charge these skink cohorts too will be very effective, and with the Stegodon down, it's now focus fire on Mazdamundi, and he is about to be in for a rough day. All guns are turned, and with the single volley, that should basically be it. Mazdamundi takes a whole ton of damage and gets routed off almost immediately. So at this point, it's just cleanup. I need to rout off all the infantry as quickly as I can while their leadership is debuffed, and I'll be doing that using my handguns and terror from Luther. The scurvy dogs will clean up the rest, and then that should be a pretty decisive victory. Looks like the lizardmen kite build just really not enough to handle this Vampire Coast deck gunner play. And the GG is called from Call Harmon. That's gonna be it. So I can now choose the outcome, saying that I pulled through. And then there we go. Prediction is over. All right, sick. Twitch features, guys. It's crazy. For anyone watching on YouTube, you can't see that, but if you want to join in, feel free to follow the Twitch. Now, the Stegodons, they did okay, but they basically got shut down by healing. Even though they were firing on the deck gunners for most of the game, they really just weren't able to kill them off because it's so easy to heal them up back to full. After that, the rest of the army is really poorly optimized to rush my build, and everything just really just got gunned down at that point. Next game up against Call Harmon, it's a rush. Oh man, so immediately it's a ton of infantry. My Nehekar horsemen are going to cycle charge into some dryads. There are a few units of wild riders. I'll focus them down. And then my cavalry, they're going to be bouncing in and out of these dryads as quickly as they can. For, let's see, what's this? Some glade riders, I can chase them off with the horsemen. That's a fairly effective fight for me. And then my Tomb King he does pretty well in this situation. As he does... yeah, he has high armor. He'll be able to win out against those Wild Riders, absolutely no problem. The Chariots can kill off the Dryads, and now it's just my Ushabti and how well they can deal with these, with the Dryads, I guess, and a few Treekin. That's actually not especially scary. A few Wild Riders too, slightly more scary. I'll decide to fire them instead, and I have some nets at the ready to make sure that they can't come in and ruin my day. Chariots will help deal with all the forces over there, and my net should be coming down in just a second. I've secured my left flank, but will that be enough? We'll have to see. Some cavalry does dive in onto some of my horsemen. They do get caught up. Some of my Ushabti to suffer a bit of damage, but I still have nets at the ready, and if I can just get my Lich Priest close enough, I should be able to catch out most of these Wild Riders, and it looks like I do. The Ushabti are going to fire in onto them now, and we'll see if that's enough to win out the game. I have a bunch of Chariots to help out against the infantry. Hashem's Burning Gaze too into the midst of that should fare pretty well too. And as soon as the cavalry is gone, I'll be able to deal with the archers, no problem. But that's no guarantee. The cavalry is holding fairly strong. Their leadership is decent, but not amazing. It's just a question of, can I get them to rout? It's looking very close, but we'll have to see. As for these Way Watchers, I'm gonna hit them up with my skirmishers. I have enough skirmishers where I think I can kill them off. And for my chariots, let's go ahead and bounce them into some more Dryads. My lord will go ahead and fight against Drycha. If I can kill her off, that would be a huge boon for me. But will I actually be able to kill off Drycha? She is a very tanky lord and pretty hard to deal with. These Wild Riders too are diving in onto my Ushabti. I can hit them with the net, but a lot of damage has already been done. And we'll see if I can actually get a proper disengage on that front. As for the Dryads, they are getting routed off. My Ushabti summons are doing fairly well. Ooh, but the rallying Wild Riders are going to be a bit of a problem. We'll see if I can actually deal with them. In fact, there's actually still quite a few Wild Riders, but my Lord is fairly high on HP. And the Way Watchers are almost out of ammunition. So if my Lord can manage to stay alive, I think I'll be okay. If he dies, then it's a really rough situation. My Ushabti too need to stay alive, but they're in a pretty rough position, and it looks like the Wood Elves may be coming out on top. But the game could still go either way. The Way Watchers are nearly out of ammunition. I should be able to rout off these Wild Riders, and with these Ushabti, I can rout off the other Wild Riders. I have more nets that I can throw down, and where do I actually want to use it? I could use a Burning Gaze onto Drycha. That seems like a fairly good option. And the cavalry is mostly gone, but the ammunition on these on the Way Watchers has to get shut down if I want to win the game. Otherwise, they'll be able to kill off my Lord, and it'll be generally a pretty bad time. The Chariots too are going to be integral for killing off the Way Watchers, and that's going to be my goal. And along with that, I'm also going to be keeping these Ushabti alive. I'll be using my Lord to do so. I have nets to slow down these forces. So I definitely have a few options here, and it looks like I should be fairly good. A volley from the Way Watchers does come down. I can pretty easily dodge that with the Ushabti by just getting them to move forwards, and that does slowly reduce the ammunition of the Wood Elves. Once Drycha is down too. Oh, whoops, I accidentally throw down a net on top of her. That's a big misplay. And we'll see how this goes. I have my Lord. He's gonna dive in onto the Treekin, plus the Chariots slamming into all this infantry. Should get some terror routes here. And then after that, I should be able to kill off Drycha. The Way Watchers too will run out of ammunition, firing in onto my Ushabti. And as long as my Lord lives, I think I should be okay. I still have a ton of Chariots. Drycha is very low. And the game was extremely close, but it looks like it should be a victory. The Way Watchers are now out of ammunition, getting chased down by chariots. And Drycha is going to be off the battlefield in just a second. Another attack from my Lord. She does barely manage to keep it together. But the Way Watchers are shut down now, so my Lord doesn't have to worry. And if I can get that Drycha kill, then I'm good. But like I said, her melee stats are actually pretty insane. And if she kills off my Lord, of course, that would be a really bad situation. RNG could allow that to happen, but it looks like I do manage to pull through there, and I will be able to win the game, although it was extremely close. It came down to just my Lord and my hero, and yeah, I think probably my Ushabti could have done better in this situation up against the... My Ushabti could have done better at killing off the Wild Riders. I actually got traded into them pretty hard. But I should still be good. I say that, but the Treekin are performing surprisingly well against my Lord. He still, of course, has 1,300 HP to the 1,000 HP of the Treekin. Plus, they will be terror routing in just a second. Or actually, no, they have immune to psychology. So who knows? Maybe the Treekin are going to pull it back, but they do actually get routed off. Thank goodness for me. And it looks like I should be able to win this battle. The Way Watchers don't have as good combat stats against my... they don't have as good combat stats. They most of their AP is in their missile strength, and their melee attack is fairly low on that. So with the very high armor on my Lord, he's gonna be just fine. He has 22% ward save too, so he's even more tanky than you might expect. So despite how close this feels, I'm feeling pretty comfortable here. And one more attack gets these guys terror routed, and that's gonna be GG. Okay, a little bit closer than I would have thought in the mid game, but I did just barely manage to pull through. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot, and then go ahead and let's see. Did I actually do the prediction properly? Whatever. GG. So there we go. The Treekin, surprisingly tanky against my Lord. The Ushabti getting shut down pretty quickly too because of the rush. They should have been shooting the Wild Riders more from the start. Still though, things went pretty well. The nets helped out a lot. The horsemen held the line, and look at that damage on the chariot. Absolutely amazing. The chariots, just crazy high damage, low AP, but that doesn't matter against the Wood Elves, and had just barely enough to win. So this next game is myself up against Call Harmon, still doing practice, and right now, based on the chat predictions, apparently they think 80% of them think that I'll win this match. Now, it's a match that I haven't had a ton of practice in, which is why I'm practicing it up against Call Harmon, and it looks like he has brought a big gun rogue idol with some orc big guns to form up on the box. They do not have charge defense against large, so I should actually be able to begin cycle charging them. Azag and... Wait a second, this build is looking pretty familiar. It's an Azag big gun build again, and we'll see if I'm actually able to take it out. Real quick though, I'm going to get a breath attack onto all of these orcs, and then I'm gonna start cycle charging the flanks. Hopefully with enough back and forth, I'll be able to take them out. A few fanatics do hit up my cavalry, which is actually pretty brutal. I didn't expect these Night Goblin archers to have fanatics in them. And it actually gets my cavalry down pretty low. I'll group them up for heals, and then bring in my troops to continue cycle charging. Let's see. I'll then use the black coaches to charge into the orc big guns too, throw down the heal onto these guys, and then start getting some infantry in on the fight. The big gun is going to be a little bit of a threat, and I don't actually want to put too much damage into it without killing it. Otherwise, I'm just giving it a huge damage boost. So I'm gonna be very careful there. And then the zombies are going to be engaging the front line, and basically just sending in one unit of zombies at a time. There's no real need to send in more, and this will give me as much time as I want to cycle charge until I feel comfortable taking a full-on engagement. I have another breath attack too, and I'm going to position over here to hit up this huge group of infantry. As for the black coaches, they're going to hit up the big guns, and hopefully there isn't a huge dodge here from Warhammer. If there isn't, I should be able to get in a ton of damage, and there we go. Do kill off a nice group of black orcs, and I'm feeling pretty confident now. The breath attacks have gone really well. The black coaches getting a little bit caught up. I'll see if I can get them into a safer position. And for the big guns, I'll just be continuing to move forwards, trying to find positions for the cavalry to charge. As long as all my expensive troops stay alive, I'm feeling pretty confident here. The big gun will be trading okay with his rocks getting lobbed into me, but it's not especially bad since I do have all my since I have a ton of healing. The big gun throwing rocks at me isn't super scary. The fanatics though will be doing a lot of damage, and I do only have a single breath attack left. A spirit leech comes down too, so I'll throw down another heal to heal up my black coaches too, and then I'm going to try baiting out a pretty chunky breath attack in on this area. The big guns are lined up, and with a charge from my knights, they should clump up. But it looks like I actually mostly breath attack my cavalry there. So definitely not the most efficient breath attack. These black coaches too need to be pressuring as much as they can, because I am on a timer. I only have so many infantry units to stall for time. So the goal right now is trying to break the front line of the greenskins, since the giant is a little bit out of position. And then wherever the single entities aren't, that is where I will be charging in. So since it's only a giant on this side of the battlefield, I can pretty safely send in my cavalry to engage. And then for my black coaches, I'll move to the front line because there's not too many troops over there either. Let's see, I'll need to be careful that they don't get caught up though. And my cavalry too will have to make sure that they're constantly pulling out and not taking too many big hits here. And especially for my black coaches, I'll need to make sure that they don't get caught up. They'll just be sticking in the front of the infantry since the rogue idol is so far away. And soon enough, they should be able to start killing off a lot of these big guns. I am out of breath attacks though, and some of my knights are getting close to heal capped too. So I'm gonna have to be a little bit more careful here. Perhaps a bit too foolhardy with all of my cavalry, since once they heal cap, that's going to be the end for them. But a nice opportunity here for another big charge in presents itself. I'll be sending in my lord and all the cavalry, because the rogue idol and the giant are very much out of position, and once they move in to support, the black coaches are going to go into the front line. They're going pretty well. I've killed off most of the infantry, but the leadership buffs from Azag are going to be pretty impactful here. We've seen so far that most of these savage orcs haven't routed off yet, but a potentially huge play coming on in. Azag actually does get pretty out of position, and I will be able to land in on top of him. Will I be able to kill him though is yet to be seen, but my Dragon Lord does hit him for a ton of damage, and a Rogue Idol comes in to assist, but I don't know if that'll be enough. I have the I have the Helm of Discord too that I can throw down. The Rogue Idol will get some pretty nasty hits on my Lord, but killing off Azag is huge here, as once he's down, That's the main leadership buff for the greenskins gone. And there we go, Azag is dead, or at least shattered. And now I basically have free reign. I can use my Lord to kill off this giant. No problem. My cavalry is basically all dead now, but there's basically no more infantry. So their role here is a lot less important. Still though, it sort of sucks that I'm losing my cavalry. I'd much rather they stay around. And the giant too is putting in pretty good damage up against my Lord. So I'm going to disengage here to cycle charge another day. The rogue idol too is going to be a little bit of a task to actually kill off. And it's gonna come down to how well I can cycle charge really. Let's see. Yeah, basically that. Azag is gonna be routing off. I really want to chase them, but I don't know if I have the time to actually chase off Azag. I will be able to hit this giant though in the back with my Lord, get off a single attack, and then disengage before he takes any damage. That should work out pretty well, but just kidding, the rogue idol actually does jump in on top of him. He takes a bit of heat, but he does manage to escape. Azag is down now, and now it's whether or not I can kill off this giant. I have the 2 black coaches. I have 2 units of cavalry left, and the giant is very close to routing off. Same with this black orc big boss, but will I be able to kill it? The rogue idol does clap a few of my troops too, and let's see if I can break off this giant. Time is of the essence, since I do really since the leadership debuff from Azag only lasts so long. But I still shouldn't be foolhardy. As you can see, my Lord does take quite a bit of damage from that rogue idol because of a bad attack angle. My 2 black coaches too will have to be a bit careful. And it looks like I will likely lose 1. So it's gonna be close. It's gonna be real close. The black coaches, I should have healed up one of the black coaches. And if it crumbles away, it's gonna be very rough. I think it's getting healed up by the necromancer. And then I'll just need a little bit more to heal it up. I just need 12 seconds and then I can give it a heal with my Lord. As for the giant, we'll be going down. My Lord can go ahead and dive in, land an attack, and then disengage before the rogue idol makes it towards me. It looks like I do. And then I can heal up this black coach. So, okay, that worked out pretty well. Was a little bit scary, but the black coach is now safe. I can send the 2 of them in to kill off the giant. The black orc big boss is nearly off the battlefield too, but not quite. And that's definitely a big difference here. The giant's back is turned though, and I'm going to use my charge bonus onto it because I am rapidly running out of infantry. This rogue idol has done a lot to the forces of my infantry, and let's see if it lands a hit against my Lord. There's not much I can do to really dodge out of this situation, but I do manage to kill off the giant at the very least. The one downside though is that this black orc big boss is still in the mix, and even a few of the orc big guns are back in. Not a great situation. Channeling staff, I'll use that on my necromancer just to get a little bit more winds of magic. And the next goal right now, I guess, is to kill off the rogue idol. I'm gonna wait for my buffs, surround it with the black coaches, and then see if I can snipe it out. That's essentially my best bet here. I'll want to kill off all the infantry first though, and then I'm also going to save my skeleton zombie summon to yeah, I'm gonna save my zombie summon when I actually make the big dive in. So if I can stall for another minute, that would give me my charge bonus too, but I don't think I have a minute. I think I have to engage now. So let's go ahead and throw down the zombie summon. The rogue idol did just make an attack, so I'm going to throw down all of my debuffs, heal up the black coach, and hope that this is enough. A single clap onto my Lord could kill him off, but if I just get enough hits onto it, then I should be good. Getting stuck on a few of the zombies too, so it's just getting in those attack animations. It looks like everything's sort of having a hard time attacking here, so I'm just gonna pick up with my Lord and then cycle charge into this rogue idol. In fact, it might even have a really hard time killing off the black coaches. So I think I should be fine. Let's go ahead and cycle charge it in the back here. That should be able to get some pretty nice hits. I'll pull away with my Lord, hopefully before it attacks. The Black Orc Big Boss could make things a bit dicey here. But there we go, I do manage to escape before the Rogue Idol turns. And then I should have a huge charge bonus onto it in just a second. Black Orc Big Boss too. Trying to salvage the situation. He does provide a pretty nice leadership buff to the Rogue Idol. But as soon as I can get my charge bonus in, I should be fine. Plus 50% damage, plus insane amounts of charge bonus, and a big charge into the back should be able to kill it off. But a few unlucky misses could end off the game here. So it all comes down to this. The Rogue Idol hits my Lord. He's down to 400 HP. He's rampaging. And he kills my Lord. But did I get it to rout? I did. Oh boy, and there we go. I think I might have just barely won it. I have a few units. I have a few knights here too to help the situation. And then it's just a black coach up against the Black Orc Big Boss, which actually might not be the best fight ever. Surprisingly enough. We'll see how that goes. These zombies too are on the verge of routing or crumbling away. So let's see how this goes. Black Coach, first of all, main priority number 1. I need to kill off the Rogue Idol. If I don't, well then that's just a really bad situation. The Rogue Idol, trying to escape, will be slowly scurrying away. The Black Orc Big Boss too, actually landing a few hits onto my coach in the meantime. It's gonna be a scary fight. I do have my cavalry in, and the Black Coach does have a 44% ward save, so it's not in the worst scenario ever. My cavalry too can cycle charge this big boss, get him surrounded, and the hope is that the Black Coach does enough damage to him where he actually gets routed off. But that's no guarantee. Oh my goodness, this game got a lot closer than I would have expected. So let's just see how this goes. I'm gonna kill off this Rogue Idol first. I have a few Varix Reavers, and there we go, the Rogue Idol is down, but its death animation might actually do a bit of damage here. I think it actually does crush a few of the Varix Reavers. And now it's just the Black Coach up against this guy. I have my cavalry, so I will be able to cycle charge here until my cavalry crumbles away. And doing that as quick as possible is going to be very important if I actually want to make sure that my chances of winning here are as high as possible. I have a single unit of cavalry, but it's gone, which means that I have to stick in combat now. And Micro is essentially done. It's just fighting the Black Orc Big Boss now, mono-y-mono. And this is what it comes down to, guys. Oh boy, can a Black Coach win against a Black Orc Big Boss? He has 1400 health, insane melee stats up against the Black Coach, which has a ton of charge bonus, but I can't really use the charge bonus anymore. So I really just have to land in some lucky hits, which looks like they are actually coming down. The Black Orc Big Boss is at 17 leadership. The Black Coach is at -20, but his leadership's really low, and another hit might actually get him routed off. So fingers crossed, guys. This is it. This is peak Warhammer right here. He's at 4 leadership. The Black Coach is at 700 HP. Will it land another hit? He has 55 melee defense, but it does land another hit. But his leadership rises, and he pulls out the win. Oh my goodness. Jeez. Oh my gosh. All right, well, there you go, guys. Prediction is over. Atrical, you can go ahead and end the prediction. Oh my gosh. Everybody, I just lost all your points. They're gone. I should have focused a Black Orc Big Boss. I forgot he was giving a ton of leadership buffs to the rest of the troops. And if I had killed him off, it would have been way easier to rout off the Rogue Idol. My cycle charging 2, I did take a few more hits than I would have hoped for. And I'm wondering if I should have killed off the rogue idol first instead of the giant. I'm not sure about that. I also ran out of infantry too. I thought I just had enough infantry to last forever, but the rogue idol did clear them out very quickly. And that is basically it. That's what did it. Oh my goodness. The 2 fanatic bombs too, very painful. And in the end, I think a bit of focus fire would have done it. Still though, a very close game and very fun.